Welcome back, folks, to another Beeve and 42 show. This week's round six. Couple of good results for us in round five, mate. We'll start off with how hot the Titans were last week.
Yeah, Titans put in a good effort. They were playing against an injured Knights team, right? So we'll keep that in context. But for Feed, it was just on fire on the edge, right? So somehow he couldn't get the 3 Deli M votes. I just wonder what these judges are looking at, right? Because he was just sensational on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So, fantastic. You'd be very happy with how those boys are going at this point in the season.
I was, and I really liked how Brimson played at the back as well. He was electric, and I thought that the duel between he and Ponga was just awesome. And when Ponga went in for that second try and he flashed up the 1-all call, that was just awesome. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. No, it was great to watch. So, yeah. And the Dragons had a win, so
Yes.
knocked off the Eels. So it was a very, very happy weekend. So
Sure.
Far too many beers consumed on a Sunday evening.
So speaking of the Dragons, they upset the Eels, and mate, we've got to start asking the question: are they serious this year?
Yeah, well, look, they can't win it, right? But are they a chance for finals? Maybe. I still don't think they'll make it, right? But the next 4 weeks they got a pretty tough run, so it'll be interesting to see how they go, right? So they just picked up a new recruit today in Maguire, so that's a good in for them, right? So they need a bit more depth in the forwards, and I think he's a good guy who, holds the rest of them accountable, right? He holds everyone accountable, so it'd be interesting to see how he fits in there and see whether his performance and his attitude's a bit better than what it was up at the Cowboys, because something was certainly up there for them to be willing to just let him go immediately, right? So big surprise given how they're travelling.
Yeah, exactly right. And the fact that the Cowboys were willing to still eat 50% of his salary to let him go, I think that...
Right, 50%, incredible. Yeah. Surely he's not that much of a interference within the team, right? Sounds like a good pickup for the Dragons. He's not the same guy he was 5 years ago, but certainly still handy, I think.
No doubt. Good 18th man at worst. So I'm sure he'll find a spot on your bench though. And
I'm sure he'll be playing.
Yeah, eventually they'll get him in there. And speaking of the Cowboys, what a game that was at Tigger Park.
Yeah, well, Leichhardt, eighth wonder. The Tigers just didn't show up, right? What a piss poor effort, on a day when they were honouring Tommy. Firstly, I thought they should have worn the black and white. When I heard they were wearing the black and white uniform, I thought it would be the black and white West uniform, right? Yeah. But no, they come out with like the alternate Tigers uniform. And I thought that was a little bit, they probably had a great opportunity to the people from the West supporters who probably feel underappreciated as part of that merge. It would have been a really good touch, especially given they were honouring Tommy.
Yeah.
Cowboys were good, right? So their backs, their outside backs certainly turned it on, right? So nice little couple chip and chase tries. So
yeah, Drinkwater was good. I thought he was
Drinkwater was good. But same with the Hammer. When the Hammer scored that first one, right? It was a nice down the outside and chip back inside. Got a beautiful bounce back in. So Cowboys off the mark.
Early contender for try of the year. Yeah. And look, just speaking about the jerseys that you were mentioning there, they jump at every opportunity to market a new jersey. What an opportunity to reintroduce the black and white jersey with the Victor sponsor on the front.
Exactly.
Thousands.
Yep, correct. Right. So they could have still had the coffee sponsor or whatever whoever their sponsor is now on it. Yeah. Who cares, right? But the black and white should have been there that day.
No doubt. So, all right, mate. Well, enough about round five. Massive news just dropped tonight, and look, I feel for the poor bugger. Morris has left the Sharks, and they've signed Fitzgibbon for 3 years on a $1.5 million contract. That won't start till next year. So they've got an interim coach with Josh Hannay.
Yeah, well, I think this is Josh Hannay's second interim coaching period, right? I think he did the Cowboys after Paul Green got the ass. So, I think, you do feel sorry for John Morris, right? Because he hasn't really done that much wrong, but you know what I mean. Put yourself in the club's position, and you want to be able to bring in players, and maybe he didn't have the same profile that Fitzgibbon has, right? Fitzgibbon has the pedigree, I guess you'd say, because of being in that Rooster system for a long period of time, and he will help to attract players to the club, right? So there was discussion about the players a mutiny, right? If Johnny Morris got the ask, that a lot of them would protest in some way, whether that's to leave or look, the Sharks will probably protest by just not playing well, right? So which would be totally expected anyway, right? So yeah, but tough time for Johnny Morris.
Yeah, and look, the guy had zero cattle. He had a really aging Fafita. He's got the always injured Dugan. The one up and coming star that they had was Bronson Cherry. Turned out he was probably on the peptide program as well from 2016. It's he had nothing, right? And the poor bloke's fine. He got him into the 8 both years. So
look, well, I mean, they brought on some players who've become decent players, right? Toby Rudolph is probably the best forward that they've got, right? Or middle forward. Nakora's still a good player. Wade Graham obviously was a good player before, right? But the players spoke highly of him. But whoever shits on a coach when the coach is still in power anyway, right? So maybe other than Josh Maguire, right? So yeah.
All right, mate. Well, sorry to see you go, Johnny, but sayonara. So on to round 6 games. The Thursday night game, Broncos v Panthers.
Yeah, well, geez, how good were the Panthers last week, right? I mean, just absolutely stuck it to the Raiders. I thought the Raiders would give it to the Panthers, but they just keep getting better and better, right? So maybe they won't lose until 2027. The Panthers, they're that good, right? But this week playing Broncos, new halves combination this week. Sack Milford. How can you expect anything but the Broncos to get smashed this week, right? So I've got the Panthers winning this one in a canter by 26.
Hard to disagree. The only saving grace is that at least they're starting to get a forward pack back at the Broncos. Carrigan's back from suspension. Payne Haas is back. Lodge is back. But the reality is that they won't compete with the Panthers unless they just have some miracle outburst of the weekend. But
their forwards are pretty good, right? I mean, you'd be happy with a couple of them playing for you, right? I mean, many of them would make your team, right? So, but James Fisher-Harris was just an absolute weapon on the weekend, right? So I imagine him also looking at this, going up against Lodge and Haas and Pangai, and saying, I'm going to bring it again this weekend. So Penny Panthers all the way.
Yeah, and I think it's at least 18 plus for that one as well. Okay, so the next game, first game Friday night, is the Knights v Sharks.
Yeah, well, with the news breaking today about Johnny Morris, right, you've got the injured Knights against the sad Sharks, right? So, to be honest, I'm not quite sure who to pick in this one. I was going to be on the Sharks until the news broke on Johnny Morris, and I'm now going to go off them, and I'm going to go back on the Knights, right? So, Knights, Ponga will be better for a run. Bradman Best is back in the team, right? So it gives them a bit more strike through the middle. Their forward pack is still pretty good, right? So and Saifiti's back from suspension as well on the bench, I think, right? So they got a bit more depth than what they had last week against you boys, right? So so I'm taking the Knights to win this by 4 points.
Yep.
4 points because Chad Townsend misses 2 goals because he's a shit kicker under pressure. Right.
Nice. I love it. I agree. It'll be a tight one, and I've changed to the Knights as well. They've also got Kurt Mann coming back into the 6, which frees up Connor Watson to play his roving role as well, which I think is a good thing. And the Sharks are without Graham and the always injured Dukes, so I think they're going to struggle to even field a decent backline, I think, at the moment. So, yeah, I think they'll win by 8+ because they're at home and they're going to want to show their fans that they're a good team.
Yeah, they got touched up by the Dragons last time there, right? And they'd be hurting a bit from that. So, so they owe one to the locals.
Yeah, exactly. And then the late game Friday probably, is the match of the round, Storm v Roosters.
Yeah, well, I mean, Storm just keep getting better and better too, right? I mean, last week Harry Grant came back in, right? Their depth is getting better. I think the only player who's missing for them now is Finucane, who's a pretty handy player. So I think the Roosters have got too many out and too many a little inexperienced, right? So Sam Walker might have thrown a couple of Harbour Bridge passes to get a couple of tries late last week, right? But I just think their overall depth is challenged, right? So they'll probably lose their hooker to suspension, right, when he challenges that at the judiciary tomorrow night or whenever that is. And I just think in their halves, where you've got Drew Hutchison, who's played well in the last couple of weeks, he's just a step too slow for NRL, I think, and playing against a pretty good team this week, right? So the Storm will be up for it, right? So I've got the Storm to win it, and to win it pretty easy by 10.
Yeah, look, we are going like for like at the moment. I think it'll be a little bit closer. I'm going to go 6 for the Storm. But yeah, the Roosters hooking stocks are just, it's empty. The cupboard is bare. The Friends retired. Verrills is still out. Lussick broke his arm. And now Marshke's fighting suspension. So it'll be Victor Radley probably at 9. And what I found interesting with the Storm lineup is that they've kept the Cheese at 9 and Grant coming on 14.
Yeah, I think that's just for a couple more weeks, right? Smith's been there and Grant's coming back from an injury, so therefore just ease him in a little bit so he's not, under pressure to perform from the beginning. So, I mean, the Roosters, I thought there'd be plenty of hookers in Bondi, right? So, so I'm a bit surprised that they can't find a good one who's worth some cash. Ask Mitchell Pearce; he'll know where they all are. So.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. You're clearly not going back to Bondi anytime soon. So then we move on to Saturday. Move on to the Saturday game. We've got the Eagles v the Titans, and it's out at Mudgee.
Look, both last start winners, right? So Sea Eagles beating the Warriors. I mean, how the hell did that happen, right? But they get Tommy Turbo back this week, and they're a different team when Tommy Turbo plays, right? So if I were you, I'd be a little nervous because they've got that ability to have a bit more spark where they could just cut you open. Yeah. You're leading by 16 before you've actually, realised it's 12 minutes in, right? So, but I think the Tits are a different team this year. I don't think that they're going to get run over like that, right? So not just a better team, but also those young fellas won't want to start like that, right? So I've got the Titans winning it, but I'm backing it'll be a bit tighter than I would have expected for a Manly game. So I've got Titans winning this one by 8.
Nice, yeah. Look, and having Turbo back is a bit of a scare, but the difference is he's got nobody else around him. So he is the only guy in the back line. Dylan Walker's out as well, so that doesn't help him. And their forward pack's not the same pack it was years ago. But as a true Titans fan, even when the Titans are leading by 24, the game is not won. So I'll be watching this until the final 2 minutes, and I'm hoping
it'll be interesting to see how Tommy goes.
Yeah,
because Tommy is he going to play a bit tentative, or does he come out and just thrash it, right? So he's had so many hammy issues. You got to wonder whether he's like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to take it up above 80%, right? Because I want to be sure that I'm good, right? So yeah.
But you can't run soft, right? Otherwise he'll just get smashed. So I remember he come back last year and he ran into the line, and 2 steps out, he just grabbed his leg before anyone touched him. And obviously the whole infamous Corso sprint challenge. So look, it won't take much for him to snap again. And if that's the case, then yeah, Manly are in big trouble, and Des is still in big trouble. Yep. So middle game on Saturday, Rabbits v Tigers, should also be a decent game, I think, because the Tigers will not want to be embarrassed again.
Yeah, they won't want to be, but they will be, right? So the Rabbits will give it to the Tigers in this one because, the Tigers have got nothing going for them, right? The Tigers pick up James Tarmo and Offa Hangawi as forward inserts this year. Both shit, right? So they pick up James Roberts, right? He's not worth, he's not worth an old jockstrap, right? So I think the Rabbits will give it to the Tigers. Madge will be fuming again, right? But the Rabbits will get them by 16.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to disagree again. Rabbits will tell them. Really interestingly / funny story, the young lad that made his debut for South last year, Hawkins, came on, played reasonably well, jumped over to his mates in the crowd and put a 15 stitches gash in his leg, and he's out this week.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Wow.
So,
incredible.
And that, yeah, just a innocent issue where he just went over to his mate, slipped on the concrete just in front of the fence and cut himself open.
Wow, 15 stitches, eh?
Yeah.
Shaving cut. Yeah.
Right. Righto, and then we move on to the final game Saturday. It's Raiders v Eels.
Yeah, this will be a big one, right? I mean, both last start losers, but both teams with big expectations, right? So a little unsure on this one too, to be honest, right? I think if Chance was there at fullback for the Raiders, I'd be all over them at home, expecting them to bounce back, embarrassing Penrith. Mm-hmm. The Penrith crowd doing the Mick Ennis Viking clap to them, right? Taking the piss out of them. So I would expect them to bounce back a bit in this one, right? So Eels would have been disappointed with their performance last week, right? Yeah, look, I've got the Raiders. Just got a feeling the Raiders will get up in this one. It'll be a super tight one. Raiders to win by 2.
Yeah, and look, both teams trying to bounce back after a loss, and I'm going the other way. I just think the Eels got more to play for. To me, they've just got a better squad as well. So there are a couple out. James is out for the Raiders, but they've gotten Madison named again. They've done that for the last 2 weeks, but he always drops out last minute. So got a bit of concern about his concussion situation because they do treat it pretty seriously at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, and he's up against. It's not an easy game, right? So yeah, you want to make sure he's right, especially with the spate of people who are retiring from it recently or impacted by it. So but it'll be a cracker game, right?
Yeah,
that'll be an 8-can game, that one. So
absolutely. So we move to Sunday, and probably the third best game of the round, Dragons v Warriors.
Yeah, well, the Warriors were just not good last week, right? I mean, missing Fanua Blake, and they just didn't show that much at all. They got off to a good start, right? And I thought that they would, I thought they'd go on with it, right? But the closer the game was, the more you felt that Manly was a chance of stealing it, right? So they just lacked that killer instinct to be able to put a team away, right? So look, I thought they'd make the 8. And I thought they were a much better team than the Dragons, but the Dragons are playing with a bit of belief, a lot of confidence. Ravalawa is just running people like he is a semi-trailer, right? And got to say, I loved him taking on Sivo last week. It's a second game in a row. I think he's given it to him, right? But the defense of the Dragons was really good last week, right? So Lomax was tough in defense, and Bird gives a lot of extra protection for Ramsey, who's a bit of a, what's he weigh, about 65 kilos, right? Playing on the wing. So and Maguire will play this week. Guaranteed he'll play. He'll play off the bench.
Right.
And he'll play instead of Kade Ellis, I think. And, he'll be a good in for us. So I'm going to back the Dragons in the end, not with a lot of confidence, right? But based on reputation over the last 3 weeks, right? So Dragons to win this one by 4 points.
Yeah, I think Dragons will do it a bit easier than that. Adam Fanua-Blake, I think, was the engine for the Warriors. And as soon as he's gone down with a leg injury, and he's out for 6 weeks or more, the Warriors have just stalled. They've just completely stalled without him. So
they've had to move Tohu Harris into the front row, who's a very good edge player, right? So they lose a bit there, So it just says they're a bit undersized, I think, right? Even though the Warriors are always huge, right? But Kane Evans is on their bench now.
He's a giant.
Kane Evans. His last good game was when he was in that room with Dylan Walker when he was tossing his salad. Oh, sorry, Dylan Napa, right? When he was tossing his salad.
And interesting news too, Fusatu out for the Warriors as well. So a bit of a loss.
Right.
Pompey will step in there and fill that gap. Or Hiku's back as well. So I don't think
Hiku's on the wing.
Yeah. I love how you've changed your attitude towards Ravalawa. I remember last year and the year before you wanted him gone, but
look, he couldn't catch COVID in China. He was that bad with his hands, right? So, I don't know. He's had a hand transplant, and they've taken the flippers away, and they've put some thumbs on there, right? So, that's great, and he's much more reliable than his regular 4 errors a game, but score a try, right? So. Good on you, Rava. Always had confidence in you.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Rava. And the final game of the round is Cowboys v Bulldogs. And just a shout out to Ma. I think you can win this one.
Oh, so you're backing Cowgirls?
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to back the Dogs. Dogs on fire last week, right? Scored 3 tries against Melbourne, against a very strong defensive team. 3 tries, right, against Melbourne. Surely they can put on 30 against the Cowboys. The question is, can they improve their defense to drop down from 50 points to less than 30, right? So, look, the dogs are due. And, black always eventually comes up in roulette. The Dogs will eventually get a win, and I'm backing that win to be this week.
Nice.
Dogs to win this one by 8 points.
Right.
They'll win it easy. I
got the Cowboys winning by 12. I've just got a lot of faith in Taumalolo just being a wrecking ball and just destroying the Dogs. And I really like Drinkwater in the halves. I think he's really established himself in that spot now, and he's got the confidence that is his spot, and he'll run with it. And one of the stalwarts of the Dogs who makes his 40, 50 tackles every week, Josh Jackson, he's out.
Yeah, really, both really good points. I forgot how good Taumalolo was, and also how good Josh Jackson is, right? I'm gonna stick the path and back the Dogs to finally get off the nick.
Nice. All right then, mate. So, all righty. We'll wrap it up.
All right, brother.
Yes. Let you get back to it.
You enjoy your week.
Yeah, we'll do, man. And good luck on the weekend, mate. I'm